Hare Krishna, Namanam Sumati, Kshama Karotu Aradha, Arasamrajapa. Vanja Kalpatiravishya, Devacha Panidanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Rishi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhudatya, Shri Advaita Gadadha, Shiva Sargavada Bhutavana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, we have Prabhupada quote. We are trapped souls in a state of forgetfulness of Krishna, and Krishna is giving you the chance now to re-establish your relationship with him by this chanting process. So take full advantage of it and be happy. February 14th, 1969. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, we have Sadhak Seva announcement text. Sadhak Seva means practical seva opportunities to help each other in different situations like job search, business referral, house search, and finding one's officers, taxes help, and legal help. Matchmaking related, and many other types of help. Sadhak Seva means we should not only help in motivating others for japa, but should also put out other practical ways. Everyone who is a member of Japa conference must also help everyone else in a more practical sense. Presently, please share your name and numbers to our everyday chant Harinam Japa WhatsApp group. Or email to everydaychant@gmail.com. Thanks. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Namah Sarvebhya Sushvagadam. Bhaktaganam. Kripya Tanamevam Vasanagrinam Vadu.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Hare Krishna to all the devotees. This is Surinder from Maryland. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Prabhu ji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Amritamani Devi Dasi from Augusta, Georgia. All glories to you, all glories to all the devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru and Guru. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mata ji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Subhati Mataji and all the Samal devotees. Dhanavad Pranam, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shamarasika Devadasi from Germantown, Maryland.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mata ji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Sumati Mataji, my Danat Pranam to you. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, and Danat Pranam to all the devotees on the call. This is Rupini Padma Devi Dasi from Austin, Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mata ji, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, would anybody else like to announce their names?
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Aarti Sardesai from Elgott City, Maryland. Hare Krishna to all the devotees and Hare Krishna to you too.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Dhanyavad Mata ji, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, would anybody else like to announce their names?
Sumati Mataji, I think we have a new person joined. Her name is Kanti Mata Ramaswamy. One Mataji, I think, is joined for the first time. Can you ask?
Yes. Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, would you like to announce your name and tell us where you're from? Mataji, should I continue with the announcements?
Yeah, no problem. Continue.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, today we are doing chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga of the Supreme Person summary. Hare Krishna, His Grace, Arjun and Anand, Prabhu, please take over the floor now. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिधि नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 Hare Krishna. So today we are discussing summary of 15th chapter of the Gita. I believe last time when I had spoken, I only could speak the first part of the 15th chapter about how this material world is compared to the upside down tree. So 15th chapter is very special. Krishna is telling Arjuna about the spiritual world. He's telling Arjuna about how the living entities, the spirit soul actually belongs to the spiritual world. And for want of enjoyment separate from God, the living entity has come into this material world. So the material world is compared to the playground. Playground for the living entities to try and be happy here. Whereas spiritual world is the place where the living entity belongs. So in the first part of the 15th chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna about, he's comparing material world and spiritual world. And he's also telling Arjuna about how the living entity has struggled in this material world. But there is hope. And the hope is trying to become Krishna conscious. And how is that? Trying to become Krishna conscious by trying to appreciate how even to be in this material world, we need Krishna's mercy. Krishna is the one who is also who is maintaining us even in this material world. So then we discuss about how Krishna is the maintainer. And then finally, Krishna also says about how the essence of all Vedic knowledge is just to know him. Why? Because by knowing him, we can go back home, back to Godhead. It's a very small chapter, so I think we can easily go through different aspects of it. So let me just share the Gita with you. So in the first part, 15.1 to 4, the tree is explained, the tree of material world. The tree of material world is an unusual tree in the sense that the tree is not standing upright. It is an inverted tree. And that inverted tree it has its many characteristics. The water for that tree is said to be the three modes of material nature. And the roots, the topmost root from where the whole tree begins is Brahma. And then there are many other roots. So the beginning is Brahma because Brahma's creation is the material world. So the root of the tree is Brahma. It is said, Urdhva Shakham. The roots are upwards and the branches are downwards. That means upside down. And though in the entire this tree, in the inverted tree, it is said in the previous verse, like as we had already discussed last time, one of the characteristics is it is called as avyayam. That means it is continuous. It is continuous in the sense that you can never find the end of it. You can't find the beginning, you can't find the middle, you can't find the end of the tree. That means the material world, the entanglement material world it looks unending. And this material world, there are, just as the 14 planet systems, the highest is Satyaloka. Similarly, in this tree, the root is Brahma. And then as you go down in the tree, you will find lower and lower species of life. Then it is also said, the branch, I'll show you Subodhini. Okay, it's here. Yeah. So it's mentioned here. And this is the reflection tree. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I can't share this. Okay, can you see the Subodhini here?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So this is the reflected tree, and see, the reflection tree means it is only when on the reflection we find the tree is upside down. So just as to get a reflection, you need some water medium. Similarly, the water upon which the reflection, you get the reflection is the desire. So it is based on the desire of the living entity that this material manifestation exists. That means it is just by one's desire that the living entity has come into this material world. And it is by that same desire to serve Krishna and to be with him eternal in the spiritual world, the living entity can wind up his life in the material world and go back to Godhead. So the reflection tree is reflected upon the reflecting medium of desire. And second verse mentions, see the branches, they spread in all directions and they represent the planets with different species. Just as you have, because you have 14 planet systems. So you have branches at the top going to the root, that's Brahma, but below, from there onwards, it's as if you're going down from Satyaloka and downwards. And lower you go, you find lower species. It is nourished by three gunas. Its twigs are the sense objects, and the tips of the branches are the senses attached to the sense objects. And the secondary roots, they are the, see here you will find the subsidiary roots of the secondary roots, they imply pious or impious actions, and that is because they are based on attachments and aversions. See, the subsidiary roots are attachments and aversions, which are byproducts of different varieties of suffering and sense enjoyment. The tendencies towards piety and impiety develop from the secondary roots. And the fruits of the tree are dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And as I said, the tree is eternal. So this is mentioned 15.1 to 2. And then, let's show the verse. न रूपमस्येह ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न सम्प्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम्. And this is the key. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. This tree, reverse or the inverted tree representing the material world, can be cut down. Krishna is saying you have to cut down this tree, Arjuna. And how is this possible? By the weapon of detachment, strengthened by Sasanga Shastrena means the weapon of detachment. Dridhena Chitva means it has to be cut. And one has to cut this tree, the inverted tree of material world, by detachment. So one has to do it in a determined fashion. See, with the determination, one must cut down the strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. That means it is only possible that one who has nothing left in this material world, he can look towards the spiritual world. In one lecture, Sri Prabhupada was saying that if a person has even one glimmer of hope to be happy in this material world, then he has to take birth again. And Prabhupada says the qualification to go back to Godhead is one has to be completely pessimistic about the material world. No hopes of happiness. Isn't it? So that means a devotee has to voluntarily, willingly cultivate detachment, because it's only the sort of detachment that can cut off this tree, the inverted tree of material world. And now Krishna tells Arjuna, so having cut down this material life, the inverted tree representing material world, then what should the living entity do? Then Krishna tells Arjuna, then he should look for that place which is eternal. That place where there's nothing temporary. That place where the happiness is eternal. that place which is natural for the soul, where there are no miseries. Yeah. See, thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and there surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom everything began. Yeah, and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. So Krishna is saying, give up this material world and go to spiritual world. He's pretty clear. See, 15th chapter is just beginning, and Krishna is pretty clear. Why? Because this material world is simply, it is fake, it is artificial, it is Maya. That means that which is not. It looks like there's happiness, but there is no happiness. So therefore, Krishna is saying that, telling Arjuna, you give up this material world, but not that you just give up and do nothing about it. Give up material world, go back to spiritual world. Two things. And therefore, the giving up of the material world have the swap detachment means it is not artificially giving up things. See, what does detachment mean? In the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks Krishna, finally, my dear Lord, please tell me. Because in second chapter, Krishna gives the entire overview of the Bhagavad Gita. Then Arjuna, having heard all the concepts at once, he gets a little confused. In the third chapter, he says, my dear Lord, please tell me finally, should I fight or should I renounce? Should I do karma or should I do, jnana as in renunciation? Which is better for me? Krishna tells something very important for Arjuna. Krishna tells Arjuna that artificial renunciation is not good. He says that if a person detaches artificially, he might only do so externally. That means to actually just give up everything externally and just wear a saffron cloth is not very difficult. But in the heart of heart, have I given up the false proprietorship that things belong to me? I am the controller, I'm the proprietor, I'm the enjoyer. Have I given up that mentality? So Krishna tells Arjuna, if one has only externally given up, but internally he's still attached, that is not very good. Mithya achara uchite, Krishna tells Arjuna. Such a person is called as a pretender. Because externally he has renounced. Arjuna can say, okay, I renounce from the war. I have nothing to do with this. But externally he has renounced. Internally has he overcome the false mentality of proprietorship. So, therefore, external detachment should actually be in sync with internal detachment. Internal detachment is more important than external detachment. And the entire third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita goes in that direction. Krishna tells Arjuna, even if you say you are very qualified for renunciation, still you perform this activity of fighting. Example as himself. Krishna tells Arjuna, even though I have nothing to do with the material world, still I am executing my duties to set the right example for population, others. Similarly, pure devotees like King Janaka, they are also engaging in duties. They have nothing to do with this material world. That means they are internally detached, but externally they do engage in the material world just to set the right example. So, therefore, when we talk about detachment, the detachment primarily has to be internal. That is more important than external detachment. So how do we get detached? See, detached or say renunciation. What is there? We can understand what is there for us to renounce. Just look at your environment, look at the stuff around you, and ask yourself, whom does all of this belong to? When we think these things belong to me, that is Maya. Or elsewhere, there's one prayer by Mother Earth. She's telling that, look, and they occupy the land and claim this land as theirs. And when the time comes, they have to give up this land and go because death strikes them. But the land is there. Then someone else will come and say, this is my land. Then that person dies, then another person comes and says, this is my land. And Bhumi Devi is just laughing at this foolishness, where people are coming and claiming it as theirs, but the thing is there, they are gone. So was it really theirs? So therefore, cultivation of detachment starts with understanding what is there in this world that belongs to me. Truly speaking, there is nothing in this world that belongs to me. Even this material body, it is mentioned. Krimi vidpasangitam. That means as the soul leaves this body, immediately the body becomes the property of, it either becomes ashes or becomes stool or belongs to the insect food. So, and this body, when the soul is in the body, whom does it belong to? When the body is small, parents say, this is my child. So body belongs to the parents. And as it grows up, then the girlfriend says, he's my boyfriend. Then the body belongs to the girlfriend, to the spouse. Then for the man works hard for maintaining the family. Then the body belongs to the family. And then he's working for the company, the body belongs to the company. And then when death comes, the body belongs to Krimivid Bhasma Sangitam. So, whom does the body belong to? So, similarly, in this world, whatever we claim as ours, whom do they belong to? So, therefore, the secret of detachment is first to understand whom does everything belong to. And that is the Supreme Lord. When we understand that Krishna is the proprietor of everything, Bhoktaram, Yajnatapasam, Sarvaloka, Maheshwaram. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram means I am the controller of everything. You can't control what you don't own. So Krishna is saying, in other words, everything belongs to me. And because everything belongs to me, I control it. And because I control it, it is all meant for my enjoyment. Bhoktaram Yajnatapasam. I am supposed to be the enjoy of everything, of all yajna sacrifices. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suhritam Sarvabhutanam Yatmamam Shantivrittiti. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, yes, you have to cut down this tree of material world with the sword of detachment. But the secret of detachment is to understand that in the first place, nothing belongs to me. And therefore, what are we supposed to renounce? We are supposed to renounce the false proprietorship that we are claiming the things in this world belong to me. Actually, nothing belongs to us. So that's what we are supposed to give up. That's where the detachment comes. And then when the detachment is internalized, then external is only a matter of time. Isn't it? When we understand nothing in this world belongs to me, then one may still be employed in a company, but because he has the right mindset, when the company gives him some money, what will he do? Gives it for Krishna Seva. Isn't it? Because nothing belongs to me. So therefore, more than external detachment, internal detachment is very important. And then when we understand that when we become completely detached from this material world, we become like oil and water. Oil never mixes with water. Even if you put oil in water, oil always stays separate from water. Similarly, a person who has completely become detached from this material world on account of his Krishna consciousness, because without Krishna consciousness, it's very difficult. Klesho adhikatarastesham abhyaktasakta chetasam. For people who don't accept the personality of Godhead and try to become detached on their own, by jnana, it's very, very difficult. So our process is we accept Krishna's authority, Krishna's proprietorship, Krishna's controllership, Krishna's enjoyership. And therefore we can easily give up material world. So Krishna is saying, having developed detachment from material world, don't think there's nothing else for the living entity to do. He's saying be detached from material world, but become attached to spiritual world. Because that's where the spirit belongs. Spirit belongs to spiritual world. Material body belongs to material world. The spirit has nothing to do with the material world. So simply detachment is nothing big. Just to understand that Krishna is the proprietor. So how to go back to spiritual world? Krishna tells Arjuna there are qualifications. You will cultivate right, necessary qualities to go back home, back to God. Just let me turn on the light. Very short. निर्माणमोहाजित संगदोष अध्यात्म नित्या विनिवृत्त काम द्वंद्वैर्विमुक्ता सुख दुःख संज्ञे गच्छन्त्यमूढा पदमव्ययम् तत्. So Krishna is saying, yes, you have to go back to Godhead, but there are qualifications required. Because a person who is eligible to go back to Godhead, such a person has he nirmana moha means he is beyond delusion. Jitasanga dosha, he has overcome the three modes of material nature. Adhyatma nitya vinivritta kama, he has become completely spiritualized in consciousness and overcome any kind of selfish desires or selfish enjoyment. Dvandvair vimuktaha means he has overcome dualities of this material world. He is unaffected by dualities of this material world. Sukha dukkha samnyer means in terms of happiness or distress, he is equipoised. He is unaffected. For such a person who is called as amudha means such a person is, he is not a fool. He is opposite of fool. He is the most eligible person. Gacchantya amudha padam apyam tat. Such a devotee of mine, Arjuna, goes back to spiritual world. Yeah. See, nirmana means he has no false prestige. Nirmana moha jitasanga dosha, he has overcome the three modes of material nature, he's become transcendental. Adhyatma nitya, he is established in spiritual knowledge. Vinavritta kama, nothing to do with the material lust in his heart. Dvandvaiva muktaha means he is liberated from dualities. Sukha dukkha samgneya, he is equipoised in sukha and dukkha. Yeah. Yeah, he knows how to surrender to Supreme Person and attain to that eternal kingdom. But what is the eternal kingdom? And Krishna gives a clue. Eternal kingdom is natadbhasete suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yad gatvani na nivartanti tadhama paramam. My dear Arjuna, my spiritual abode is independent of any material arrangements. That means sun is not required to light up the spiritual world. There is no time in the spiritual world. There is no need of the moon, no need of fire or electricity. And when one goes back to spiritual world, he doesn't come back to this material world ever again. Why to go back to spiritual world? Why not just stay here in the material world? Yes, there is a cycle of birth and death. It's okay. You die, take birth again. You die, take birth again. Why to go back to spiritual world? Krishna says because the living entity, the spirit soul, belongs to spiritual world. Mamaivamsho jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana manashashthanindriyani prakritisthani karshati. Krishna is telling Arjuna, Mamaivamsho jivaloke, my dear Arjuna, understand all these living entities are my parts and parcels. Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, eternally. They're connected to me. So if some people say, oh, I don't like Krishna, I'm a devotee of Shiva. But Shiva cannot claim this Mamaivamsho jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Only Krishna can claim. Manashashtani Indriyani, but the living entity wanting to enjoy separate from God has come to this world, and because he's come to this world to enjoy, he has given us facility. What is that facility? He has been given Manaha and Indriyani, the senses including the mind, to enjoy the here. But what is happening? Prakritistani karshati. With this mind, these senses and the mind, the living entity is only struggling for survival. Karshati means struggle, hard struggle for existence. See, the living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they're struggling very hard with the six senses, including the mind. This is their struggle. And in now next section, or in the 15th chapter, Krishna is going to explain what is that struggle that the living entities have to undergo in this material world. What is that struggle? The struggle is the cycle of birth and death. That means we all know how do we get the next body. Can anyone say on what basis do we get the next body?
Prabhuji, on the basis of one thought.
On one thought, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Krishna has already explained in the 8th chapter of the Gita.
So, Prabhuji, one thought in the
Yes,
sense
what
that
determines our next body?
if you're thinking like of something other than Krishna, you know, maybe you're thinking of a relative or a house or something, then, you know, our next body is ready. So that's why I said one thought.
Okay, so I
Hare
think
Krishna,
we need to say
Prabhuji.
one thought at the time of death.
Okay.
Yes.
Antakal
Yes.
Maranam.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Yeah, correct. At the time of death, what thought is occupied our consciousness, or at what level of consciousness we are present at the time of death, that determines our next birth, isn't it? So Krishna tells here to Arjuna that Arjuna, the living entity, as soon as he's in the material world, he's constantly carrying different conceptions of life, just as air carries aromas. Just you imagine some wind comes flowing, passing through a rose garden. What smell do you get? You smell rose fragrance, which is very nice. But say the another wind comes, the breeze comes passing through some sewage, then you get an accordingly similar type of stench. Air is not to be blamed, but it carries that conception with it. Similarly, what body we get in our next life is based on what conceptions we have in our subtle body, that is the mind. Accordingly, we give shape to that on a gross platform. So subtle, we have one conception. That means if someone is behaving like a dog, next life he'll get a dog's body. If a person likes to eat anything and everything, then next life he'll get a pig's body. If a person doesn't like to wear clothes, always likes to showcase his body to others, he'll get a tree's body. Someone likes to just sleep all day and they don't want to do anything. That's too tamasic. And there's such a person gets a polar bear's body where half the year is spent in sleeping. And so on and so forth. So our consciousness gives shape to the next body. In the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, if you can check your mind right now, assess your mind and see what kind of thoughts, what kind of consciousness is overpowering your mind, which or is influencing your mind, then accordingly we'll understand what you were in the past life and what you will be in the future life. Like I just said, and this is in which section? I think it's in Prachina Parishad, that section, the 4th canto. So therefore, Krishna is saying, Manasisthani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. Living entities having come to this material world, they are not living in a resort. They are not enjoying their lives. They are only struggling for existence. Why struggle? Because the struggle means being in this world means repeated cycle of birth and death. As soon as a living entity struggles hard to gain something, death comes and snatches it away, everything. Snatches away everything. And again, the living entity loses whatever he has gained. And again, he takes birth. Again, an opportunity is given. And this is happening again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, jhatare shayanam, idu samsara, bahudustane, kripaya pahe, pahi murare, भज गोविंदम भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते. Like the Shankaracharya sings, he's saying punarapi jananam punarapi maranam punarapi janani jatare shayanam. This cycle of birth and death is constantly going on, where the living entities are trying to enjoy as much as possible. And in due course of engaging in this material world, they're developing certain conceptions based on desires and consciousness. And accordingly, they get another body next life. Now, in the next life, they're trying to enact, they're engaging in the material world. And again, they have certain consciousness. Again, that leads to next body. So in this way, lifetime after lifetime is simply dying. We are wasting our entire life gaining something material, and at the time of death, everything is snatched away from us. And again, you have to take birth with nothing in the hand. And therefore, it is mentioned, this is the struggle for the living entity on account of the senses. Because as soon as we are present in this material world with the senses, the 5 senses, including the mind, immediately the senses go after sense object. When the senses go after sense object, immediately we say, okay, I want this. I want to watch a nice movie for my eyes, of course, for the mind. I want to hear some beautiful music. I want to eat some tasty food. I want to touch something soft and nice. I want to smell some nice perfume. So the senses are constantly active, and it is pulling the living entity in 5 different directions, of course, including mind in 6 different directions. So therefore, you will find the living entity is struggling hard because he is trying to fulfill the desires of the senses, the urges of the senses. Will it be pacified ever? The answer is no. Satisfying the senses is like adding ghee to fire, or adding fuel to fire. It is only going to increase. It is only going to enrage the flames. That means by itching an itch, we only increase the itch, isn't it? Finally, till the time we hurt ourselves. So therefore, satisfying the senses, the living entity, he thinks, okay, if I satisfy my senses now, today, then tomorrow I'll be peaceful. No. Satisfaction does not come by trying to please the senses. Satisfaction comes by absorbing our mind in something spiritual and forgetting the call of the senses. Forgetting the urges, the pushing, the pulling of the senses. By engaging with the sense objects, we only become more frustrated because the senses will want even more. They beg for even more, and they will not give any peace of mind. And therefore, by engaging with the sense objects, by engaging with the material world, we are developing certain conceptions in our subtle body. And for each and every conception, we need one more body to fulfill those desires. And therefore, Krishna is saying, in this way, the living entity is struggling so hard in the material world for want of some happiness. Unfortunately, there is no happiness, what he's looking for. So he simply has made a fool of himself. So therefore, what is the solution? The solution is to become Krishna conscious. But one can say, my dear, sir, how can you say we have to become Krishna conscious? In the material world, we're struggling for existence. And we can't just go to the spiritual world tomorrow. So how do we become Krishna conscious? Then Krishna starts explaining to Arjuna in the next section of the 15th chapter how we can become Krishna conscious just by understanding that even for our survival in this material world, we need Krishna's help. Because Krishna is the one who is maintaining all of us. Krishna is maintaining the material world. Like how many of us have to worry about fueling the sun so that it will be giving sunlight every day? Anyone present here is contributing to the fueling of the sun? No. Who is fueling the sun? Krishna is taking care. How many of us have to worry that probably one day Earth might fall off its orbit? We are coolly present. We are doing what we are doing. Why? Because Krishna is holding the planets up. And this way, Krishna is telling Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, to escape the struggle in material life, it's only possible by becoming Krishna conscious. And it's not a difficult thing. If you want to be Krishna conscious, understand how even to be present in this material world, you need to depend on me. You need to understand that I am actually maintaining all the living entities. In the Upanishad, it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Jo Vidadati Kaman. That means There is one big eternal and many eternals. One Nitya and many Nityas. But ego the bahunam, that there is one and there are many, that one maintains the many. So who is one? That is Krishna. Who are the many? All the living entities. So now Krishna tells Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, you see, you need sunlight for so many things. See, if we don't get enough sunlight, then we'll have so many deficiencies, isn't it? Our body becomes malnourished because sunlight actually nourishes our body. We get a lot of contact, a lot of diseases without having sunlight. Krishna says, I am that sunlight. I am the source of light to the sun. Without moonlight, our vegetables will have no taste. They will taste like thermocol. So Krishna says, I am the source of light in the moon. Without heat in the fire, we can't even cook. We can't eat properly, isn't it? Krishna says, I am the source of heat in the fire. That means even for basic sense gratification, we have depended on Krishna. How can we not become Krishna conscious? Isn't it? So at the cosmic level, Krishna says, I am the sunlight, I am the moonlight, I am the heat in the fire. I am Gama Vishichabhutani Dharyam Ahamojasa. I enter into each planet and hold all the planets up in the orbits. And Prabhupada says, and that's why all the planets are present where they are. Just as someone can bend down and hold, mitti, sand in their hand. Till the time you're holding, nothing will happen. But if you don't hold it, if you drop it, what will happen? It will all be scattered and thrown down. Similarly, the very fact that the planets are present in their orbits and everything is well maintained, Prabhupada says it is because the hand of the universal form of the Lord is holding everything up. Prabhupada says that. And therefore Krishna says, I am holding the planets in their level, in their orbits. And then he says, this is all cosmic part. Then he says, even the food we eat, to digest the food we eat, Krishna says, I become the Jataragni. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehinam. In all the living entities, in their bodies, I become the fire of digestion. And I also become the prana apana, the outgoing air and the incoming air. That air also, it is me. And because of which, actually, there's so many functionalities happening in our body, we are not even aware what all things are happening. Isn't it? If I'm able to speak, that means it is prana. If the prana is weak, the flow of prana is not proper, then I will want to speak, but the voice will not come out. Like some people, when they speak as if they're speaking from within a well, very hollow voice. Because prana is altered. Prana is not proper. When the prana is very strong, the flow of air is very strong, outgoing or ingoing, this flow of air, then there is function of speech, isn't it? Or even if someone wants to evacuate, if someone wants to go for clearing, then it is apana vayu, which has to flow out, and that takes everything down, excrete out. So without the 5 airs, prominent airs and the 5 secondary airs within the body, our body will not even function properly. Without the fire of digestion, we can't digest any food, because we won't even be able to digest water. So Krishna says all these things are me. Prana, apana, and it is me. The fire of digestion, it is me. How can we not be Krishna conscious? That means even though we are in the material body, in the material world, and there is hard struggle for existence, still we can be Krishna conscious when we know how Krishna is the maintainer. Krishna is the one who is maintaining me. And we are one might be foolishly thinking that it is myself who is working hard by going to company daily and bringing money for the family, and therefore I am the maintainer. But we are not the maintainers. Krishna is maintaining. And then finally Krishna says, not just that, I also expand as Paramatma, and I have one Paramatma copy in everyone's heart. I stay and travel along with every soul in this material world, in whichever body the soul might go. He travels with the soul as Paramatma, super soul. And therefore he says, now being the super soul, what is his function? Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. That means I'm present in the region of the heart. Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. According to what the living entity deserves, I give them knowledge, I give them remembrance, and I also give them forgetfulness. Krishna does that as a super soul. For example, we might take rest at night, 10 o'clock. So morning when we get up, who is waking us up? The Paramatma. When we wake up, we are confused. Who am I? Then we say, oh, okay, I am Arjun, I am Brahmachari, I am New York. So that identity, the remembrance is also given by Krishna. If Krishna withholds remembrance, you can get up, but you won't remember who you are. So that remembrance is also given by Supreme Lord. And sometimes the forgetfulness, when the living entity is going from body to body, sometimes devotees are eager to know what they were in the spiritual, in their previous life. Why is that forgetfulness given? Because when there's forgetfulness of what had happened in the past, we can have an opportunity to try to enjoy this material world again. But what happens is if we have a remembrance of what had happened in the past, then the horrors of the past will not allow us to execute our free will today. And therefore Krishna says, apohanam. At that time he gives forgetfulness. You forget your past, not required now. That means then we are, we have no context to be afraid of trying to be engaged in this material world. So therefore Krishna is saying, I expand as a super soul and I'm present in the region of heart of every living entity, and I am guiding the soul by giving remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. But of course, it is reciprocal. It is based on what the soul wants and what his karma has for him or her. So therefore, accordingly, super soul has a very vital function. And finally, Krishna says, Vedaishcha sarve rahameva vedyo, Vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Arjuna, please understand the goal of all Vedas is to finally understand me. That means if someone understands Krishna and he has not understood many other things, it's still perfect because he has understood the Vedanta, the end of all knowledge. Krishna says, I am to be known. And because I am to be known, he says the goal of all the Vedas, if you take the essence, Vedas say, understand who God is. And therefore, finally, Krishna tells Arjuna he tells Arjuna what is his position. He says there are two types of living entities. One is Kshara, who are fallible, and other one is Akshara, who are not fallible. That means Kshara refers to conditioned souls in this material world, who are fallible. Akshara refers to this, living entities in the spiritual world who don't fall. So Kshara and Akshara, two categories. And Krishna says, I am Paramatma beyond these two categories. And that is Krishna's position. Krishna is beyond Kshara and Akshara living entities. And so let me just show you the text. See here, there are two classes of beings, the fallible and infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible. In the spiritual world, every living entity is infallible. But besides these two, there is the greatest living personality, the super soul, the imperishable Lord himself, who has entered the three worlds and is maintaining them. And now Krishna says, see, super soul is Paramatma. But now Krishna says, I. I means he is Bhagavan feature. He has a form. Krishna says, because I am transcendental, beyond both the fallible and infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in this world and in the Vedas as that supreme person, called as Purushottama. This is all Purushottama Yoga. So here Krishna is established position as one who is transcendental to the working of this material world. He's not affected by anything in the material world. Therefore, he's transcendental. And he is beyond both fallible and infallible. So, therefore, the Supreme Lord is called as Purushottama. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Person of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. And finally, Krishna says, this is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. See, it's a very small chapter. So, in a gist, what does Krishna explain to Arjuna in this 15th chapter? Krishna is first telling Arjuna that cut down this material tree, the inverted tree of material world, and try to go back home, back to Godhead. But that's possible. The cutting down of the tree is possible only with the sword of detachment. It has to be cut with determination that I will cut it. I will overcome material life. I will go back home, back to Godhead. Of course, by the mercy of Supreme Lord, Guru and Vaishnava, Guru and Krishna. So that is the first part. And then second, he explains about why to go to spiritual world. No, he says how to go to spiritual world. You have to develop some qualities. Nirmana means overcome false prestige. Moha, overcome illusion. Nirmana moha, jitasanga dosha. Jitasanga dosha means one who has overcome the three modes of material nature. He has become transcendental to this material world. Adhyatma nitya, he has become situated in his spiritual. He has become established in his spiritual position. Adhyatma nitya. Vinivitta kama, he has overcome lust. Dvandve vimukta, he has overcome the dualities of this material world. And sukha dukkha samgir, he has become equipoised in sukha and dukkha. Such a person, amuda, he can go back home, back to Godhead. Then one can ask why to go back to God. Before that, he says, what is there in Godhead? He says, Krishna says that Godhead, that abode of mind, is such a place, a living entity, when he goes, he doesn't come back. And that spiritual world is running by my spiritual energy. So it does not need any supporting facility of a sun and a moon and this and that. It doesn't need. Natad bhasete suryo nashashankona pavakaha. Yadgatva nanivartante taddhama. The supreme abode of mind is that which is independent, but it is running on my spiritual energy. It is not dependent on any material facility. And then he says, why to go back to spiritual world? Why? Because all the living entities are my parts and parcels. They're eternally connected to me. Mama eva amshaha. They are all my parts and parcels. And therefore they belong to spiritual world, not the material world. It's like a fish you take out of water and you tell the fish, mind your fish, please be happy with some iPhone or a MacBook or a new television or a nice car, posh car. Will the fish ever be happy out of the water? It is not possible. The fish will say, my dear sir, you put me back into the water. When you throw the fish back inside the water, fish is satisfied. Similarly, the living entity, the soul, does not belong to this material world. In the material world, you give the soul anything. You give $1 billion. You give him citizenship of USA. Whatever you give him, the soul cannot be happy. But when the soul goes back to spiritual world, it is happy. Because it belongs to the spiritual world. And therefore, Krishna says, because these are my parts and parcels, they have to go back to God. They don't belong here. But having developed the desire to enjoy separate from me, they have come to this material world. And therefore, Prakriti gives a facility. You want to enjoy the material world? Okay, yes. You can take these senses and the mind. Try to enjoy. And what is happening? Prakritistani, Karshati. Karshati means hard struggle for existence. And what is the hard struggle for existence? More we engage our senses with this material world, trying to enjoy and lord over, more we cultivate our different conceptions in our subtle body. And for each of the conceptions, we have to take one birth, one body to fulfill them. In this way, the struggle for existence is a cycle, a repeated cycle of birth and death, where one is constantly gaining and constantly losing whatever he has gained. And he's trying to exercise some conception which he has gained by engaging in the material world. And the example is given Vayor Gandha Vasya. That means just as air carries aromas, similarly the subtle body contains different conceptions of life. And for every conception, you have to accept a body. So therefore, this is Karshati, lot of struggle for existence. And then Krishna says, this struggle for existence everyone undergoes in this material world, but only a wise person, a yogi, can see it. A foolish person who is being carried away by material nature, he cannot see it, though it's very evident. Vimudana pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. A fool cannot see these things, how the living entity is struggling, the repeated cycle of birth and death, material world, spiritual world, goal of life. He cannot understand these things. It is only those living entities who can see, one who has developed jnana chakshu, pashyati jnana chakshushaha. One who studies the scriptures and looks at this world from the eyes of the scriptures. They can say, oh yes, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This material world is miserable. Everything is temporary. There is no happiness. I want to go back home, back to garden. This is Shastra Chakshu. You study the scriptures and look at the world through the light of the scriptures. Shastra Chakshu. So Pashyati Jnana Chakshusha. Such a person can see. Such a person can understand what Krishna is saying here. But then one can say that, but my dear Prabhu, we are in the material world. How can we develop Krishna consciousness? Then Krishna says, not a problem, because Krishna, even for your existence in the material world, Krishna is maintaining the material world so that you can try to enjoy here. And he says how all he is maintaining. First, he is maintaining at cosmic level by being the source for light, for sun, moon, and heat for fire. Or he becomes he enters into each planet and holds it in an orbit. Isn't it? And then he says at a personal level, how Krishna becomes the fire of digestion. Krishna becomes the air in the body that moves and helps in the functioning of the body. Krishna also is seated as the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity, guiding the living entity by giving remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And then he says, so this is the point, essence of all knowledge, of all scriptures, to know me. Why to know Krishna? Because, and then he explains his position above Kshara and Akshara. Kshara means those who are in the material world, the conditioned souls who are prone to fall down. And Akshara means those who don't fall down, the Nityasiddhas in the spiritual world. Krishna says, I am superior to both of them. And finally, he says, when anyone who understands my position as Purusha Uttama, my position as being above Kshara and Akshara, as being the maintainer of all living entities. When someone understands my position really, truly, such a person can worship me with all their hearts. Like that. So this was a small gist. So that is chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. It's 6:48. Sorry, I'm in IST. So are there any comments or questions, anything?
Prabhuji, this is Aarti Sartesai from Maryland. Hare Krishna. I always enjoy your lectures, truly, and they're very practical. But I still have a question. So, is the material world created by the Lord just to test us? What is the purpose of the material world? Because I understand the body is very temporary, the soul is permanent. And the soul has to understand in this life that, God is the ultimate, but he still has created this world. He has created different people, different animals, different environment, and it's all his creation. So is that one of his just to test us to see if we still see God in everything? And what is the purpose of such variety of beautiful and not so beautiful, which is like, there are bad elements. So what is the
Mm.
purpose of creation of the world?
So this material world is a facility created by Krishna for those living entities who want to enjoy separate from him. That means if someone says that, I want to go to zoo, but without Krishna, okay, then you have to go to zoo in the material world. So then he has made some facility here. Like for example, if say you tell a child tells the father, I'm sick of staying with you, I want to enjoy separately from you. That means say the father is going on a trip. The child says, I don't want to be in your car, I want my own car. So what should the father do? The father will say, why do you want your own car? You just sit on the driver's seat. I will sit, you sit on my lap and you drive. The child will say, no, I want my own car. Now, what can the father do? The father will say, okay, take this toy car and you drive this toy car and I'll drive my car. So that toy car is the material world. Can the child reach the destination using that toy car? Definitely not. But he will try driving it for some time, get tired, and he'll say, Papa, okay, I will just now take rest in your car. So similarly, the spiritual world, Krishna is the enjoyer. The material world, in the living entity thinks, why only Krishna? Why not me? Then Krishna says, okay, you also want to enjoy? No problem. You can try to enjoy like me in the material world. So Krishna has filled this material world in all kinds of beauty, and there's both. You will find heavenly pleasure also, hellish pleasure also. Why? Because at the end of the day, it is a reformation center. The living entity having gone there has to get reformed in heart to come back to spiritual world. So therefore, all facilities in the material world, but there is no happiness. And therefore, to try to fulfill the desires of the living entity, this material world does look colorful. Like if the living entity wants to enjoy separate from Krishna, if I just put him in a dungeon, how can he enjoy? Then love is forced. To show unconditional love to the living entity, the Supreme Lord says, okay, you want to enjoy separate from me? Take this material world, which is not like the spiritual world, but it is a reflection of the spiritual world. Everything is temporary. It is like a toy. It is not factual. It is a toy. It is artificial. But you try to enjoy here. So the living entity tries to enjoy here to the best of his capacity. He fails and then finally looks upon Krishna. Then now he looks upon Krishna and he wants to go back to garden. Does that make sense?
Yes, but again, like Krishna asked Arjun, in Kurukshetra, no, you do your job. Even you have to fight because you're a Kshatriya. There are different professions, right? Created by God, and sometimes we cannot choose a profession. I might want to be a CEO of a company, but I am not, because God said, this is your direction, no matter how you do. Sometimes fate takes you in in a particular direction. So there are other professionals like lawyers and then there are other entertainers, there are other professions who are trying to, by Krishna's grace and what God has asked them to do, they're trying to perform their duties. But if their duties are not appreciated, to a certain extent, I'm not saying, then what is the purpose of even them being there? I'm not talking about, I don't know how to express this, but it's like everybody has to survive because God has put the certain souls on this planet, and then we are supposed to do our jobs. But some people, like for example, in certain professions, you're supposed to know and you're supposed to be able to talk about different topics, right? Unless you are well read and you know everything about everything, you're not going to be able to execute your profession to the best extent. So I'm trying to understand how that falls into like other reading other than just the Bhagavad Gita, and how does that develop your knowledge? And that sometimes that knowledge is necessary for you, for your profession. So how are we going to just not control the things?
Okay.
I'm trying to understand.
I think the first point is the living entity wants to enjoy separately from God, and therefore he's trying out different roles. So someone thinks if I become an engineer, I'll be happy. Someone thinks if I'm a doctor, I'm happy. Someone thinks if I'm a lawyer, I'm happy. Someone thinks if I have a male's body, I'm happy. Someone thinks if I have a female's body, I'm happy. Someone thinks if I'm a tiger, I'm happy. So on and so forth. So therefore, now the infinite number of conditioned souls in this material world. Now, someone is acting as a lawyer, someone is acting as a doctor, someone is acting like an engineer, and so on and so forth. And that's what seems that there's so much huge variety. It is basically the living entities are trying to enjoy in different way. But now that being said, when we say, for example, someone has pursued engineering throughout life and he's now an engineer, now that he studies Bhagavad Gita, he doesn't have to give it up, but he has to add Krishna to his life. So yes, if he's a computer science engineer, he has to work on his coding skills, or he needs to keep cultivating knowledge because it is part of his duty. But it is also part of his duty that he becomes Krishna conscious. So duty means there are two aspects. There's material duty, which in Sanskrit is called as varna, which should be according to his nature, the material nature. And then there is ashrama, which is spiritual duty. So duty means material duty and spiritual duty. Material duty, yes, you have to fulfill your material duty because you are, unless you take renounced order. If not, yes, you have to do your duty to the best of your capabilities. But again, spiritual duty is also there. So they both go hand in hand, just like the two sides of the railway track. Both of them go hand in hand. So material duty, our varna also we have to take care. And spiritual duty, we also have to take care that we are making progress in spiritual life. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense, actually. It's a blend, but at the same time, it makes sense because we are performing the duties, and of course, we are performing the duties in the name of Krishna, and to simultaneously also not forget that Krishna is forever there. So just take, yep, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Anyone else has anything to say? So Shamrasika Mataji, if no one has anything to say, should we wind up here?
Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam. Thank you so much for this nectar class and nice explanation of the verses. I don't have any question, but I was waiting for the devotees if they have a question. Anybody has any question? Please go ahead. Otherwise, we can end it. You are talking from Bangalore, Prabhuji, right? Now you
Yes.
are visiting. Yes. Nice, Prabhuji. Okay, I think nobody has any question or comment. We can end up the call here. Vancha kalpataruyasya kripa sindhu vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। नमस्ते स्थापक की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। की जय। इसके अर्जुन आनंद प्रभु की जय। थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा।
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.